DDG episode 244. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, we're a week away from the Nintendo Switch 2. Are you excited? Are you feeling it? Does it feel like a new console is about to be announced? I have a feeling I know the answer.
The answer is no. But at the same time, I'm more excited for what I'm always excited for with Nintendo. I'm just more excited for the software. Like,
yeah.
The hardware is what the hardware is. I mean, having a 9-year-old kid, soon to be 10, like it would already been like a 70%, 75% chance that I was getting a Switch 2 at launch. Now with a 10-year-old, by the time this launches, it's going to be, he's going to hear about it and he's like, dad, which is fine. But I'm actually more curious about, what little thing, like what, because Nintendo always kind of pulls something, even minor, like what is it going to be that's going to be like this
Amiibo
like
for this
yeah, or something like, I don't even know, like back touchpad again or something weird that we're gonna be like, that's dumb, and then it's just going to become innovative.
I hope it's not just the mouse. I hope it's
agree.
Not just the mouse feature.
Yeah. And then I'm just whether we already know there's going to be remasters, so like what is going to be remastered, and the thing that Nintendo mostly does very, very well, 90% of the time, we don't like the things that will happen at this event are going to be a surprise. Like they kind of keep it they keep their information locked down pretty well, especially with their own stuff.
Yeah.
As like sometimes we see like, oh, leaked PlayStation Direct and it's 70% accurate. There's a couple things that aren't on there, but I haven't seen anything about a leak yet or nothing. So
GDC just happened. We'll talk more Nintendo later.
Yeah.
We're jumping the gun a little bit by the question, but GDC just happened and like nothing came out of it. Like,
yeah. So that kind of actually has me even a little bit more excited, just because like there's being so quiet, and we thought for sure we would have heard something about how it functions, what it can do, like, even the stupid thing, does it run 60 frames? Who cares?
I care, Dave.
But the other thing too for me, and you don't care because not video game wise, but And they're playing against the Dodgers, which is going to be awful anyways. But regular season baseball starts on Thursday.
Yes.
Tigers play the Dodgers, national television, in LA. So it's like one of the first times the Tigers have played like a warm game in March or April in a long, long time. Being, usually it's like Chicago or Cleveland or Minnesota.
So I haven't bought a baseball jersey in a really long time.
Yeah.
They put the advertisers now on the jersey, right? Because they have patches for advertisers
that's a
now.
good question.
Because did you see the Mariners jerseys
Yeah,
this
Switch
year?
2,
Yeah. Which I'm kind of tempted, even though I don't think the Mariners have anyone I would want a jersey of. But
well,
like,
you
I'm
could still get your hand on a Griffey jersey just by default.
if they sell a Griffey with the Nintendo Switch logo on it, I will buy that.
They have some cool City Connects too.
They do, but specifically that Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. But I
patch,
think it'll be on there, but I'm not sure. I'm looking at just quickly like while you're. No, I didn't want to go here. Okay. I was just
looking. I know
looking.
basketball will have like the. I know actually I don't even. I think it just has the Nike logo. It doesn't have like the basketball, like whoever's advertising on the jersey. Like Orlando has Disney. I think. I forget who does the Bulls. It used to be Motorola, but I don't know who the advertiser is now.
So the Dodgers jersey, like, cause like that's just like Ohtani comes up first, like on MLB Shop.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Dodgers actually have a, so like a Terrence Skubal jersey, Cy Young Award, winning pitcher. I don't see the Meyer logo on it, and I believe Meyer is a sponsor of the Tigers.
Okay.
So.
Like I also asked because I'm just like, wait, do the ads pop up in MLB The Show on the jerseys? Because they do in NBA 2K whatever, like they do have like the sponsors on their jerseys.
I didn't realize that Ichiro and Randy Johnson were the same number until just now in Seattle. So
it's kind of fucked up. Think about it. But I guess he was Brady Johnson. I kind of associate with the Diamondbacks more.
Yeah, Diamondbacks, Astros sometimes. Yeah, I don't see. I mean, like I'm seeing some Mariners jerseys because I'm I'm an inherent like Griffey is like my favorite player of all time. So
same,
like
growing up, him and Frank Thomas.
Yeah. So but no, I do not see the Switch 2 logo or the logos.
They just announced it today, so we might have to wait until like opening day.
Yeah.
Also, Fanatics, I think, runs the MLB store, and they're trash at getting up to date in a reasonable time, I think.
Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty excited. I mean, the Tigers are still kind of injured prone right now. The
White Sox, I think they just announced the sixth pitcher getting Tommy John surgery this season. So it's like, ooh, we're not even like 2 weeks into spring training.
Yeah.
And we already got 6 Tommy John surgeries.
For those of you that root for the teams with jersey ads have been selling jerseys in stadium or online, your team with the sponsor, or would they not add that for you? Yeah, as the Giants just announced their sponsor, I really hope it's not on merchandise. I know NBA jerseys, they have the sponsor.
Yeah, see, NBA jerseys have it. Yeah.
Mariners flex.
I just think I'm looking
forward to you next year.
It'd be really cool. I could also see them doing it, like if they can, but it's an ugly logo that they're putting on there. The classic Nintendo one.
The big red box. Yeah, the big red box with like the S2 or whatever. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, that looks like shit. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, Dave, introduce the show. We're rambling about baseball.
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts Thursday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, YouTube RSS feed. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. Everything else is linked in the show notes. Please consider checking your subscription to us on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link it with Twitch and you get Prime Gaming. That subscription is free, and it initially just nets us like $4, $3.50 probably. So that is something that is a benefit to you as a Prime user. It does not auto renew, so please consider checking that out. Other than that, following us on Twitch is free. Subscribing to us on YouTube is free, and you can subscribe to the RSS feed on YouTube, where you can have it post and let you know. You can listen through YouTube without having to look at the image, or you can look at the past broadcast, or you can go to Twitch and look at the past broadcast, although they're doing something with their VODs that I keep getting emails about, and I just don't care. Because
you know what? YouTube's got our backs.
Yeah, I was going to say, YouTube, like Twitch has been kind of weird lately. They're still very financially supportive of us, but YouTube in the back end is just better. in all aspects of how it organizes the show, how it RSS feeds the show, even the times where Angela, when she's editing, has the rare time that she has to rip audio from a backup, because we used to have a backup for this. She just rips it right from YouTube, and it's a great file. So kudos to YouTube, owned by Google or whatever. Just I don't know. I've been on this massive just Google connection because especially I'm trying to help my mom. Since my father has passed, like she's trying to like reset some stuff up, and I'm like, we just need to start fresh, and you just need to use the Gmail stuff and Google stuff, Google Calendar, one Gmail, like all, because there's so many different branches that I'm finding with my parents' stuff, and I'm just kind of done. I was like, I can put these little speakers in your house, you can turn your lights on, you can turn them off.
Literally, that's what got my mom to update to Google ecosystem, is I got her the speaker so she can listen to music anywhere, and then now she's just like, I want the speakers, I want the thermostat. And it's like, you know what? Let's get this for you.
Well, and there's certain things that I don't want my mom doing in a house by herself, like like changing light bulbs or turning lights on and off, and like in certain times where she's up in the middle of the night, I just want her to be able to use her voice and not fall going to the bathroom. So that'll be a springtime thing of going up there and like taking a case of tech with me, like.
You know what? The little screen is also really helpful. You can get one for the kitchen, so it could be like a timer, and then it runs.
Well, I mean, for her, I just needed to say, "Go do your doctor. It's time to leave for your doctor." She's not the most
also
sound
good
hearing.
Because so I have a security system. We're a video game podcast, by the way. I have a security system that is the Google Nest doorbell is connected to my Google screens. Nice. So if someone rings a doorbell, it shows me who's there, so I can decide if I'm going to actually go out and look at them and talk to them. So it saved me a lot of awkward interactions with people selling stuff.
Leave the food on the porch, please. Have a good day.
Which, for an elderly parent, would be fantastic because they're the most susceptible to like talking to strangers and giving info away. But video games day.
Yeah, so you can check everything else out in our show notes. Join our Discord, join the Facebook group. We are probably, with Switch 2 coming, Michael and I were just talking about, you're probably going to see a little bit more of a social media push again, as we're trying to kind of just reestablish that and use the Switch 2 as maybe a springboard for coverage. Our plan for the Switch 2 event, we were just talking about it super quick. It's on Wednesday, of course, because that's our life. We've tried to get back on the Tuesday schedule, and something throws us right off. So next week will be that evening, so that'll be out as quick as we can. Our impressions of the Switch. Hopefully it's worth doing an episode for. It has to be.
It should be. It should be. Nothing else is going to happen next week, so literally
that's true.
It has to be.
Yep. So we'll be there with that. Hopefully we get dates and everything like that. But again, you can check all that out at digitaldaysgaming.com. And we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, first bit of news. This is more for me and a couple of the people that are obsessed with skateboarding. So Bam Margera is reportedly being added to Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 Remaster. So according to Live Club Podcast, which is like a skating podcast, where they had skaters on it. I'm not too familiar with the podcast. According to the host, they were with Tony Hawk when he demanded that Bam Margera be added to the upcoming remasters after basically phoning Activision. So Bam wasn't originally included in the rosters of announced skaters for the games due to his bad reputation and past issues with like substance abuse and legal issues. I think he's been in jail a couple times, not prison, but jail. So there was pretty much, it was a given for most people that like they're not going to include him in the remasters, even though he was a big part of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, 4, and then basically the future of Tony Hawk after that. He was in like every game and more of a big character in that series. But he has apparently turned his life around the past year or so, and he's been hanging out with Tony Hawk. So once the news basically got to Tony Hawk of the backlash from fans, he called Activision. They apparently told him, we can't do it. The game is done. And then Tony Hawk was just like, no, you are going to do it. And then they flew out Bam Margera for facial scans and doing whatever they have to do to get him in the game. There has been no official word from Activision, but they haven't come out to say this isn't happening. And I imagine they would have done that by now, specifically because they can't afford to have any sort of backlash right now, so they need whatever kind of wins. If you want to talk about like a game announcement that was met with like praise that within 12 hours was being like bashed by its fan base, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 is one of those. Someone in the chat is mentioning there's no story mode for the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. They're just not going to do it. They're just going to make 4 play like 1 through 3. Which I don't really care about because Tony Hawk 3 is my favorite game. So as long as I'm getting Tony Hawk 3 remastered, I am fine. but a lot of people do love 4, and they don't want to see 4 get turned into a different type of game. So they need a win. They'll add Bam to the game, take that win, because right now, if you
This
go on
is going to
Reddit
be
for
a
Tony Hawk,
half-ass edition.
basically that's what it feels like. It's
Yeah.
like
It's gonna like there's gonna be some like AI created like scan that's not gonna look. It's not gonna look good.
But to be fair, he doesn't look great right now, so they could get away with like, hey, this is accurate, because they do the scan of what they look like now
Right.
and put them in a game. So you have like
Okay.
old men skating. So they might be able to get away with it. The question is if it's going to be ready for day one, the game comes out in July, or if it's going to be like a patch they add after the fact to it. But this is good news. And again, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 needs good news, just because a lot of people are upset about how they're handling the remaster for 4. Dave, I know not much to add to Bam Margera being re-added, so unless you have something to say, I could.
I don't even know who it is.
Yeah.
I somewhat pay attention to stuff. I had fun playing Tony Hawk games. It's just kind of like a messing around thing, but I definitely like that would be something I think if I bought it and played it for like an hour, I'd be like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. So
I think that's basically what happened with 1 and 2 for you. Like I dove into it, and I think you downloaded 1 and 2, and then you were like,
were they free?
we had it on a shared account. So I
Oh,
remember
right.
you did
Okay.
jump
Okay.
into it.
I don't even remember doing that. That seems like so long ago
yeah.
now. But
And you were like, yeah, this is what I remember. And I
Yep,
was like,
I'm
this
like-
is the greatest fucking thing
Yeah,
I've ever
that's
played. Yeah, so it is kind of funny just hearing about like Tony Hawk just kind of like throwing his weight around with Activision. And it
Yeah.
seems like Activision must have changed since the acquisition, because I feel like Bobby Kotick wouldn't be picking up the phone for Tony Hawk. He would just kind of just tell him fuck off
Yeah.
and cash your check. So we'll see if they add anything else to this. I feel like if you're gonna like patch Bam in, you might want to put more content along with him.
I think it's also kind of
So
set.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
I guess to your point, maybe this could be a good post, 3-month patch just to get some people back into the game again that picked it up and played, and then like a little content thing to get another surge, or people
Yeah,
to be like, hey, it's worth buying because, oh yeah, but they didn't put so and so in the game. Like, oh well, now he's in the game and he got patched in, so go get it so we can play.
Yeah, and we also added an extra song, and we added
Yeah.
some costumes and stuff like that, just to get people like reinterested in it. So it could end up working out pretty well for them. The next story, Assassin's Creed Shadows might be just what Ubisoft needed. So we were talking about Ubisoft, Ubi Hard last week, and this is definitely like a Ubi Hard story. So according to Video Games Chronicles, Assassin's Creed Shadow had the second biggest launch in franchise history, just behind Valhalla. I gotta change that note. History behind Valhalla. So some data points for Shadows include second launch revenue-wise behind Valhalla, and it is also Ubisoft's best day one launch on the PlayStation Digital Store ever.
Okay.
So that was pretty big for them. According to Ubisoft, over 2 million people have played it over the first weekend, and in Europe, Shadows sold more in its first week than Star Wars Outlaws sold in 3 months. So good news for Ubisoft, who are trying to sell themselves right now. And I guess the Assassin's Creed franchise,
Mhm.
they needed a win, Dave. We were talking about how much Ubisoft needs something to go right for them right now, and it seems like they finally kind of have something.
Yeah, I'm hearing some pretty good things about it. I've seen some clips, and it looks kind of, it looks cool. I believe it takes place in like Japan. So like you're getting some of that ninja assassin probably. That it's enough that it's sparking some of my interest. That I was like, yeah, but I've had the same problem with Assassin's Creed games for a while. Everybody's like, oh, it's so cool, the stealth back. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do all that creeping around and stuff like that. Sometimes I lose patience, but it does seem like a lot of people that are playing it seem to be really enjoying it, which is amazing. And to see 2 million players within the first week with no other than the Ubisoft Next thing or the Ubisoft Connect that they have subscription wise, I don't think that this game is on any other like service. So these are
No.
copies sold, which is
And they're talking about revenue right now.
yeah, so which is great for them. I think we were kind of like joking, but talking about it yesterday. Like I don't want to see Ubisoft split off or sold or their franchises sold. I think they have the potential to be a top tier developer, top tier publisher, which they have been, and maybe this is a step in the right direction. And like next, I think they need to spring off this momentum. Like this is the time. Like it's March. You got Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out. Like they need to do a Ubisoft Forward. Like they need to. I guess even ultimately they're going to try to be sold. They need to do it in May or June as we get near Summer Game Fest. And like selfishly, like this Ubisoft Forward, this next Ubisoft Forward they have has to be Division 3. It has to. And a Far Cry. Like those both of those things need to be there.
And I think if they do announce Far Cry, it's going to be one of those things where it's like 3 years out, as opposed to before.
Well, no, I think if they announce Far Cry now, and it'd be 18 months out, it'd be holiday 26. Division needs to be winter 26.
Yeah, Division needs to come before Far Cry. Especially, I think the longer they wait for Far Cry, the better it'll serve Far Cry as a franchise.
Correct.
Not that the other one was bad; it just didn't do.
And Division, the Division is a game as a service, so you can get something out and build onto another season or build onto an expansion for it. Like you can, like don't try to make it this massive, huge, like 50-hour game with endgame and then bring out more stuff. That's how you kind of burn players out. Like this needs to be a 12 or 14-hour campaign max with some cool replayability, end game loot chase, build crafting stuff, and then. But regardless, they need to spring off of this Shadows stuff doing well, and they need to speak. Like they need to talk about the next 18 months. We used to hear about their quarter earnings. Like it was like one of the things we would always talk about. Like, oh, this was delayed, this did great, and now they're just quiet, and they're just super super quiet, and it's kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I imagine like what I would want from Ubisoft is exactly what you said in terms of like, okay, June or whatever you want to do for Summer Game Fest, maybe Assassin's Creed DLC.
Yeah.
Because DLC tends to do really well for them, especially with like Valhalla. You need to go, here's our next Far Cry, here's what we're doing with Rainbow Six, which I think they've already kind of started to do. But what they need to not do is announce new franchises. And I know that goes against everything we usually say of just like we need new franchises, but Ubisoft as a company has shown that they are incapable of doing new franchises.
Correct.
Like they can't afford to announce 3 FPS games that are just going to bomb and then get, crushed, deleted off the face of the earth.
And to be fair, they've tried. Like they tried.
The
free to play, the Pandora, Pandora, the Pandora game, which wasn't even arguably a new franchise, but it was new to video gaming. And then like the Outlaws thing, like it's like obviously like Outlaws has done okay, but then the stat that you show is that in 2 weeks it beats out 3 months. Again, I don't know how much Europe is necessarily as a Star Wars junkie as the United States would be, because I don't know a ton about Europe in general personally, but I didn't really remember hearing anything like nobody thought Outlaws was a bad game, but nobody thought it was a great game. So they've done Outlaws, they've done Pandora, they've done, but at the same time, like For Honor, Rainbow Six, some of their other games that, Brawlhalla, still does decently, although that's lost some traction in the last year or two.
Yeah.
But like they need to just keep using Tom Clancy, and they need to just keep using, Far Cry. I mean, because even though Far Cry is not a new franchise name, it usually, other than gameplay wise, it's very similar. It's a first person shooter. Your character's typically muted for the most part, but you could argue that those are very, for the most part, completely different environments, completely different villains. They're part of the same franchise. It's a Far Cry game, but they're not interconnected at all.
So they're pretty standalone.
Yeah, so I think that they just need to kind of stick with right now. They need to stick with what's working, because they tried the Prince of Persia stuff. They tried, to your point, the Battle Royale stuff. And it just wasn't grabbing for any. They were gonna there was a free to play Division game in development. We've heard it's been canned.
I mean, since 2020, I'm just going through their stuff. Hyper Scrape came and went. Yeah. Watch Dogs Allegiance, which actually was decent, and I started to see people go back and go like, hey, this was actually pretty good, but it still kind of just came and went with, not much fanfare. Immortals seemed like it was going to do well, but then they just kind of gave up on it.
Yeah. Had a blast playing it. You should still play it. You can get it for like $10. Play it.
Riders Republic, which was a cool idea for like an open world racing sort of thing, that just kind of came and went. Then we have Roller Champions. Remember that, Dave?
Yeah.
Which looked cool, but then just kind of failed. There's a bunch of just random stuff. The Crew had like 3 Crew games come out, and then they all kind of just disappeared.
Yeah, I mean
they did well, but killed the servers. You know, Skull and Bones, X Defiant, like they've had stuff that just kind of came and went, and it shows that they're just kind of incapable of kind of doing new things. And they were able to do that at one point, manage multiple new things, but I think they just kind of spread themselves too thin, tried to get like that Fortnite money, that like Rocket League money in some instances, and it just didn't work out for them. And now they need to be back to basics, which is why they want to spin off the company into like this new thing.
They just got too, like, even with Skull and Bones, they just got too ambitious. Everybody just wanted ship combat from Black Flag. That's what they wanted.
Yes.
They just wanted a game that was ship combat from Black Flag. And they are like, oh, well, we can do that and this and this and this and this. Because
kept delaying it.
What you and I played at E3 at one of those Ubisoft events was ship combat from Black Flag with like classes. Like, oh, you're a slower ship, but a bigger, you know. They had classes. If I remember,
we never got off the boat in any of those demos.
Correct, we did not.
We weren't collecting pieces of wood and like, you know, crafting a ship.
It was your boat versus my boat. Let's see who wins.
No, and that would have been fine as a $40 game in 2016 or 2018, and then they were like, no, let's do a full-priced live service game. Go. Didn't work out. So now Ubisoft is having to do this. I'm sure once they get spun off and then we get the new Ubisoft company, then they're going to be like, Shadows actually underperformed. So at least they're able to pump out that Shadows is doing well now. Yeah. And just hopefully it just wasn't too expensive, but I'm sure it was super expensive.
Kind of do another Mario Rabbids thing.
I think they should be able to, though the person left Ubisoft that was like the head of those games. Not that they can't do it,
but that would still be a Switch 2 announcement, by the way. That would I don't think that would be a Ubi announcement. It would be in partnership with Ubisoft or something like that, and then Ubisoft would be able to piggyback on it. But Nintendo gets the shine for that one first.
Yeah, and it would be one of those things where if there's a Mario game for launch for Switch 2, then Rabbids waits till like next year.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Ubisoft when they get sold at some point or whatever they're trying.
I don't want them to be sold.
I don't either, especially this way. Yeah, like this weird spinoff.
It's like when your favorite show is ending. You know, your favorite like sitcom is ending, and they're like, oh, there's a potential spinoff. You're like, yeah, but no,
I don't want it. No one wants to spin off. Yeah. No one wants to spin off. All right, next story. Indiana Jones got its PS5 release date. It is launching April 17th, both digitally and physically. There's going to be like $69 version, $99 version, collector's edition, all that stuff. I just kind of put it in here just because now we have a release date for Indiana Jones, which means it's probably going to sell pretty damn well on PlayStation. And then people are going to make jokes that it sold well, and Microsoft's just going to cash checks at that point and be like, we won either way. So get ready for that discourse. I'm surprised we are getting physical copies, at least day one. But apparently we are. Even though I played it on Game Pass, kind of want to play it on PS5 for whatever reasons. I still like trophies more than achievements. But yeah, April 17th, which means we finally got something new to play on PlayStation, because PlayStation's feeling kind of late right now in this first half of the year.
Yeah,
they did kind of a funny ad though with Nolan North and Troy Baker for the announcement.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like just super quick data, like as I'm just kind of like Googling some stuff while you were talking. You know, potentially 4 million players playing Indiana Jones. Hard to judge what that was because of Game Pass. Obviously, the game was the second best-selling game for the week it launched in the U.S. Again, weird statistic because it came out in December. It wasn't going against anything else. I'm not saying any of that. But you know, this is a case, like a business case, and like people are gonna be like, oh, PlayStation's better. Sure, yeah, because you have more pieces of hardware out there. Like, yes, you are. You know, it's like face tissue is called Kleenex for a reason, even though it's not all Kleenex. So in the end, like, to your point, like you said, okay, so they got some Game Pass subscribers that probably subbed and canceled. That happens all the time. They got some Game Pass subscribers that probably subbed and stayed, or stayed/forgot that they have it. Some people bought the game on PC. Some people bought the game on Xbox. Yes, they did. That did happen. And now people will buy the game on PlayStation. Yes. All of that means that any of those avenues that I just indicated is revenue for Xbox, for Microsoft Gaming, or whatever you want to call it. So
Yeah.
none of this is bad.
None of it's bad. And PlayStation, it's a decent game. Like it wasn't like as good as an Uncharted, but it was decent. So yeah, PlayStation players will get it. They'll buy it. My favorite part is you'll have people that will buy it and then laugh at Microsoft, and it's cute when that happens because it's like you still gave them money. Like if you really hate Xbox, you don't buy this game.
Correct.
Like, as simple as that. But it doesn't work like that sometimes. But we'll see how it does. It'll probably hit the NPDs. Like if it was able to get like number 2 for the month of December or whatever you had said earlier, it'll probably hit like top 10, top 20 in the month of April when it comes out, because it will be on honestly a superior platform of PlayStation that has like a proper base, like a large fan base that actually do purchase $70 games. Willingly purchase $70 games. So we'll see how it ends up going.
There's not. I mean, just quickly, this is Steam. Like I was trying to find something. I don't see. Like there's The Last of Us Part 2 remaster coming in, and I'm looking at April. Like what it would be competing against in April.
Nothing. That's what I was saying. There's like really nothing, especially
Expedition 33, but that's that's got some Game Pass legs with it. South of Midnight is April as well, but that's got some Game Pass legs to it. So yeah, I'm not
Expedition
seeing.
is
this
the
is a
thing
calendar.
probably.
That's why. Okay.
Expedition will probably be number 1 for that month. I'm not saying Indiana Jones is going to do like top 3 or anything, but
Expedition's early access is getting great vibes right now. So Expedition 33.
And when console players get to jump into it, it'll probably shoot the number 1. Expedition has the opportunity to be this year's Baldur's Gate. I don't think it's going to quite hit that, but it could get close in terms of like fanfare for that game. It's doing really well.
Koira, Koira. Is the Last of Us Part 2, Detective Dotson, Tetris Grandmaster. Yeah, there's South of Midnight, April 8th. The Talos Principle Reawakened. I'm not seeing oh my gosh, like I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out to me as a must play game in April.
No, and that's why it's a perfect release for them. May is a little bit more of a challenge, so this will have like 1 month of this. Like, here's a big. Because
I mean, like right off the bat, in May you get Doom: The Dark Ages, Microsoft game. I mean, like the cadence that we've been asking for is kind of crazy. I mean, you got Expedition 33, not Microsoft published, but still coming to Game Pass. What did I just say? The other one, South of Midnight, and then Doom. And that Doom game looks really, really good. You got an Elden Ring Night Ring. I mean, I was just looking at what it's going. Yeah, May's got a little bit more, but May's not looking super promising either.
Yeah, well, May already you can see what it'll be like. The top 2 games. It's going to be Elden Ring followed by Doom.
Elden Ring comes out May 30th, so that might be a challenge for it to be the May game.
I think
to your point, it will. It still will do well, but it'll probably chart in both May and June.
No, it definitely will.
Especially looking at June super quick here of like Death Stranding 2, sure.
But I think it'll do fine for May and June.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 or 4 is July. Yeah, April, May, June looked light.
Which means it could get some staying power for a little bit of time.
And here's the deal. Like as much as like, okay, like this is where these PlayStation fanboys are going to hate me and I'm going to love it. Somebody's going to tweet at me or send me something. Indiana Jones selling well on PlayStation can only help Game Pass subscriptions.
Yeah, it gives them more money to fund the next thing.
A whole bunch of people are talking about Indiana Jones. Let me look. Oh, it's on Game Pass. I can play it, or I can play it I'll pick up like sometimes what you do. I'll pick up Game Pass for $15 or $20 and play it. Yeah, and then they keep it. Or whatever.
Yeah, if there's enough word of mouth, someone might resubscribe. But like, I missed that in December because who the fuck releases a game in December?
Correct.
Yeah. there's probably a good amount of people because there's what like
I bought
30
my
million.
thing. I bought Xbox. I bought an Xbox One or a PS5 because I know GTA is coming. I need something to justify my purchase until GTA. Like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'll fit in there. So we'll keep an eye out on it. I might double dip on it. Technically, it's not a double dip since I played it on Game Pass. I guess
Right.
kind of.
Yeah, but I could see you
we'll
wanting a
see.
physical copy of an Indiana Jones game to have on your shelf.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
put it next to my Uncharted games and be
Yep.
like, "This is your papa."
Put
Here you go.
it so put like Tomb Raider on the left, Uncharted in the middle, and Indiana
Exactly.
Jones on the right, and you could just be like, "This is the third person action. We stole from them. Who stole from us? Who stole from them? Who stole from
Yeah,
us?"
who did it
catalog.
better? Yeah, and just keep them all
Like-
together. Yeah, it'll be perfect. All right, next story. God of War new game possibly coming this year. So according to several journalists, PlayStation is working on a God of War game set in the Greek mythology again. Reports initially said that this was a remastered collection that would be announced in time for the 20th anniversary of God of War, but that celebration just passed and nothing was announced. So Jeff Grubb of Giant Bomb shared what he heard, and according to him, there is something in the works related to God of War, and it is a side story sort of standalone thing, similar to Miles Morales and Lost Legacy, so that size game. And it is set in Greek mythology, and it could be a prequel potentially, which is why some people were hearing Greek mythology prequel and they thought it was going to be a remaster. Apparently, this might be an initiative at PlayStation to do shorter games in between their big releases, because even they have noticed that there is huge gaps between their like launches, and they might be looking at Miles Morales and Uncharted Lost Legacy as the solution to that, and it'll give some of their smaller studios stuff to do in the meantime. So Dave, first thing, God of War prequel, God of War anything Greek mythology, does that interest you?
Yes,
I know God of War in
100%.
general does.
Yeah. Just the combat, both either PS3 God of War combat or PS4 PS5 God of War combat, like Kratos Atreus combat, or even the asymmetrical, whatever you want to call it, combat of the first couple
PSP,
trilogy.
yeah.
100%. A shorter game, Miles Morales style, Uncharted style size, Uncharted Lost Legacy, 100%. Sign me up.
Yep.
My only concern is if this is not Santa Monica, I'm hesitant.
Yeah, I would hope it's like a co-op,
I
sort
would-
of, not a
yes.
co-op game,
Yeah.
but like co-developed. I mean, with Santa Monica providing story and some of the gameplay stuff.
Well, I don't
and
care what
just
other
having-
Greek Kratos story they can tell. I just want to cut stuff. I want to cut things up and poke eyes
Well,
out.
I
And,
think I think you can get another studio to make the combat, and it's not going to be an issue.
agreed.
But you need the story to make sense, especially if you're going back
Yeah.
to the Greek mythology, or if it's a prequel. If you make a prequel, there's already 3 games, and then the 2 PSP games were prequels. So doing another prequel could be tricky unless
Hmm.
you have Santa Monica being like, okay, how do we tie a prequel into what is happening in the current?
I
Kratos
think it'd be really,
timeline?
really cool to do a game where he meets his wife.
That could be cool. And hope in the PSP games I forget the PSP games storylines.
No,
Or are you
no.
talking
His
about,
second wife.
His second wife. Okay,
Yeah.
the one he didn't kill.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just like, yeah, I guess you could do a mini game where you kill your wife and daughter,
Oh,
but like
man,
that'd be
yeah.
weird. Which they might have done in the PSP games. Fuck, it's been so long since I played the PSP games. But yeah, I'm all on board for like a shorter like experience, just because I also like having things to play frequently.
Yeah.
Which is why we were praising Xbox for like their release cadence the
Yeah.
last 6 months. And PlayStation, as much as I love the gigantic Spider-Man 2, Uncharted 4, God of War Ragnarok sort of thing, I don't like waiting 4 to 6 years for some of this
Yeah.
stuff.
I haven't played any of them, but off the top of my head, Indiana Jones, Avowed, South of Midnight, Doom. Like
Yeah.
that's since Christmas.
On top of the third-party stuff that they're adding as well to
Yeah.
Game Pass. But yeah,
So
first-party Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's a good cadence, and PlayStation used to do that cadence. I always
Yep.
talk about 2018, where they
Yep.
released Detroit Spider-Man, Days Gone, and
yep.
something else. And I want them to get back to
God
that
of War.
cadence.
God of War.
God of War, yeah,
Yeah.
God of War. Like I want them to get back to that release schedule, and I know it's kind of impossible where budgets are. So if you tell me, hey, we're gonna release these like in between games that are
Yeah.
gonna be like 6 to 10 hours or 6 to 15 hours, I'm like, sign me up. And those will probably become my favorite in the franchise because I
Mhm.
don't like 30-hour games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So it's terrifying
just-
me. It's scaring me about Shadows, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like it looks fun, but I don't have 20 hours, 25 hours to give to a game. Hell,
But
I'm
it at
having a
least
hard enough
isn't
time
the-
playing Split Fiction right now.
but at least it isn't what Valhalla was,
Correct.
where it was like, here's a 100 200 hour
Yeah.
game, and it wasn't as short as Mirage, which I guess was too short for some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do love how like a bunch of outlets did just like come out and are like, actually, it isn't the remastered that we've been reporting. They just wanted one person to like detail it enough, and then everyone corroborates like what that story
Yeah.
is. But yeah, I guess we will see this. I would imagine this is like a Summer Game Fest announcement because I don't think we're getting any like official state of plays this summer.
Yeah, see,
Or
I mean,
any,
just
like-
even quickly looking at something, if you're the type to just play for Assassin's Creed Shadow, if you're just the type to play the main storyline, you can expect 40 hours. Too long.
Yeah.
Too.
For you,
Yes.
yeah. But even for me now, it's a little too much. But no, I would be down for like a shorter God of War experience. Like Ragnarok felt like a drag at a certain point for me.
I
and
still
it's a
haven't
great
finished it,
game.
and I'm ashamed that I haven't finished it. But at this point, I have to start over again.
Oh yeah, you definitely will.
Yeah.
I forgot exactly where you ended, but like also like they added new content to God of War, and I was just like, no, I can't go back.
Yeah.
And it was mostly the combat stuff, but I come to God of War for the story
Yeah.
and give me more story in shorter chunks. It's a shame if this is real, that they couldn't announce it for the 20th anniversary that just passed. It just seemed they announced like, hey, we're doing a big week celebration, and for the most part, it was just like, hey, did you know we did this trick to get it developed on the PS2 and the PSP? And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a cool like vinyl record collection, but it's like $200, I think. And I can't justify that. I bought a house, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love God of War that much. But
I saved
not to go-
$800 this month by not winning sneaker draws.
good for you. I just bought $35 worth of PS2 manuals.
I missed out on
Um,
like 3 sneaker drops in this month.
I don't have the box, but I literally was on Whatnot and I bought like a lot of PS2 manuals because there's 2 manuals in that lot that I wanted.
You have a
So now I
problem.
just- Dave, I'm really good with money, so
I concur. I agree with
Yeah.
how you allocate your funds, but
it just allows me to do like 2 stupid purchases a month, and then what I use those stupid purchases on is
are really stupid things.
yeah, it's spending $35 on 20 PS2 manuals just because I saw 2 manuals in there that are expensive, like high
$1.50 a
value.
manual or $15 for the manuals you wanted.
I got a Silent Hill 2 manual in that bundle, and that's like a $60 manual. So like,
Are you
that's a
gonna flip
win.
it?
Potentially, because I can't afford to buy the disc because it's a $300 disc. But now I have the manual, so I can go, bargain and trade, and we'll see what I do.
Just walking around a game convention. Who wants a Silent Hill?
Honestly, I could go to Midwest Gaming Classic, which is like 2 hours away from me, and then probably flip that for like
Just put it
something
in
I
a hard
want.
plastic case, like to make it look important. Put a little hologram
Dave-
on the bottom corner. Like
You should see the amount of plastic cases that I have for all the stuff that I buy. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm sure someone has like a fancy like acrylic case. Like
Palmer probably has acrylic cases for manuals or pages.
probably. I'll ask him. I though I have a pretty good company for acrylic cases that I use. But yeah,
Palmer's got a link for that.
most likely. But yeah, no. I would be interested to see what a God of War, to bring us back on track. I would be interested in what a Greek mythology Kratos looks like in 2025 with the current writing that we have, because I love the
Yeah.
original God of War trilogy, but Kratos was the most edgelord.
Oh, the
fucking-
trophies that were given in that game for
Yeah.
doing things in that game, and the animation of like pushing when the I don't even know what they were called, the
minigame.
6-axis controller
Yeah.
at the time, like pushing both R3 and L3 in to like crush somebody's eyes.
Yeah,
Like
just the writing, just the fact that there was like the sex mini games.
yeah.
like there's so many things in here that are kind of cringy to go back to, which is probably why they didn't do a remastered of the first 3 games, because they're just like, man, we just undo all this work we did to make Kratos like a humanized character.
Yeah.
I just would want to see how you approach that version of Kratos in 2025.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be kind of entertaining, but that would require Sony to talk, and they just haven't been doing that. So
Yeah, which is why hopefully they give it to Keeley, and then we'll get a word on that. Because you're telling me you can't get Cory Balrog to just like give like a paragraph to a team, like make a game out of this paragraph that I just thought of, and then they run with it. Like it's got to be possible.
He writes it down while he's eating like a buffalo chicken sandwich or something.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Or just troll Reddit, and people have been giving them story ideas for free for forever. All right, to tie things back into Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch 2 has a bunch of release predictions. So according to multiple outlets, Nintendo is aiming to have the Switch 2 out in June, which is why they have hands-on events planned from, I believe, the April announcement to mid-June. Like they're going on like a mall tour. The plan apparently is for Nintendo to focus only on first-party games next week and at the launch, with an emphasis on third-party releases this fall and the holidays. The strategy is apparently due to the pending release of Grand Theft Auto 6 this holiday. So basically, Nintendo's like, we want to release the Switch 2 before Grand Theft Auto kind of takes everyone's funds, because the casual market will want to buy Grand Theft Auto, and so they might not have the money for a Switch 2. And then by emphasizing on third parties during the holidays, those third parties are going to need a platform to sell their games, and we're the platform that doesn't have Grand Theft Auto. So hopefully third parties will see better sales on the Switch 2 during that time.
It's a good strategy. I mean, generally, we know that Nintendo's actually obviously very smart, very intelligent about what they do. If they can get this out in June and have a new Mario in some form of a Zelda remaster, they can hang. They can survive the GTA wave. Truly.
Yep. And third parties will jump to their platform to be like, fuck it, we can't sell on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Let's put it out on the Switch.
Or not even that they can't sell on PlayStation, that they just can't market on PlayStation.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So let's be real though. Like somebody like, I don't even, like, as an example, you or me, that, and I don't really think either one of us are GTA players. But we would buy, if we would buy the Switch and we would buy GTA. But we're in the minority. Now what's going to happen is that the the on the fence, gamer that usually maybe only gets a couple things a year is going to be like, nope, I'm getting GTA, and they're going to wait because that Mario game or that Zelda game might not appeal to them. But the kids, the things that the parents are going to be wanting something for their kids to do during the summer, yes, they should be outside. But you can't be outside all the time. But for them to be out of school and a new console, like I can't even imagine a new console coming out when I was in like junior high or high school before summer.
It's also a ton of free marketing for a portable handheld system.
Yeah, I could not imagine what that would have been like, because I feel like the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo and the 64, those are the two that come to top of mind that came out when I was in middle school and high school. Were like
for me,
holiday releases. Yeah, like holiday releases, or February, March for DSs.
I want to say at least one of them.
So, but for them to do something in June, potentially like a new Mario game in June on a new console, like you want it. I mean, those some of that stuff sells 8 to 10 million copies on old hardware. Because the other thing is, it's going to be on both. It's going to be on the Switch and the Switch 2. So, like, oh, geez, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, and we already know, like, they already showed Mario Kart, so Mario Kart would be a good first launch game. And then if they can, come September, push out, like, a marquee Mario game, eat up whatever sales you can. And then if Grand Theft Auto is in, like, October, November, that is a perfect time to have third parties being like, actually, we weren't going to develop a Switch 2 version of this game, but we probably should, so we can have something sell at all. Because I imagine Grand Theft Auto 6 is not running on the Switch 2.
Correct.
So they're going to have Prime. And so you've been to, Best Buy, Target, Walmart probably in the last like 6 months. Their Xbox section is tiny. The PlayStation section is even smaller. Yeah. But the Switch section is usually double the size
Correct.
of both of those.
8 to 12
So
feet. Yeah.
that's not going away like ever. So the Switch 2 will have prime store space and space to advertise your games that the Xbox section and PlayStation section in those stores are just going to be advertisements for Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Like, so this is like for a third party to get in there. This is like the one time Nintendo might actually get third party support. It might only be for the first year like usual, but like it could be really good support because of Grand Theft Auto, because they are the one platform that doesn't have Grand Theft Auto, but they're going to be the platform everyone's talking about because it's new.
So let me ask you a little side story on there, side tangent. I know we talked about this a little bit. I don't really remember your answer, and I know it was like only a couple weeks ago. But when does Rockstar have to start talking? Like for real, start talking? Because like if we are believing this is October or November, April's 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, so when do they have to like when do we need to know the date? Like when?
Between June and August.
Really?
Yeah.
So they can say in August. They could say in early August. It's coming early October.
Yes.
Okay.
They can do whatever they want to do.
But you talked about that player transition though, that online player transition from 5 to 6. Like they gotta start talking about this soon, right?
Yeah, I imagine, so I would want them to do June, because I feel like that's enough time for them to, especially if we're talking about like a November release, that I feel like that's a reasonable amount of time. Or they could go the other route of like, we're not going to give you time to think from announcement to actually release. So hopefully we just get you to panic abandon your GTA Online stuff for the new Grand Theft Auto. And then just hopefully we can FOMO you into abandoning it later. Because that's how companies run now, off FOMO. So that whole fear of missing out thing could be there to the benefit if they rush from announcement to launch. But I think they can do it anytime in the summer. And also, Dave, there's a good chance that they're going to do like the summer of Grand Theft Auto, to where they could go in June. Hey, Grand Theft Auto's coming out November 1st or whatever. Tune in July and August, and we'll talk about the transition to Grand Theft Auto Online. Like they could do something like that and just kind of have a different cadence for releases. But I don't think they care too much about timing and making sure people can save up for a console or save up for a video game. I think they know that they can just announce whatever they want. Like they can announce $100 version like a month before release, and people will still eat it up, buy it, and then FOMO will sell a bajillion copies for them. But I imagine you want your 90 days, Dave.
I think that I don't even. Yes, I want my 90 days. Like that's kind of where my line in the sand is. But you're the number one video game. Like this is gonna out player count when it comes out. Like we're talking about number one concurrent players probably, right?
Yeah, probably.
For a while. Like we're gonna outdo Counter-Strike,
especially if it's PC day one.
Yeah, which true that their track record doesn't show that. But those are a lot of questions that they have to answer. Like even if they're waiting until August and they say, like PlayStation 5 and Xbox on November 1st, and then everybody's like, what about PC? Oh, we'll talk to you later. What about PC? We'll talk to you later. Like the transferring the player, the movement, can I take my player from PC to console? Like we saw again at a smaller scale, and I'm not comparing at all. Please don't come at me. When Destiny 2 released and they announced a PC release date at a later date, there was a lot of I'm waiting, and it was just very interesting.
But I would say, like Destiny doesn't have that like 40-year-old guy that works with you that doesn't play video games, that just does like they're basically the market that the college.
But if that 40-year-old guy has an $8,000 game or a $3,000 gaming PC, he's waiting.
But like, I feel like every time, last couple of Grand Theft Autos in terms of like PC support, people are like, I'm not going to support it because where's Red Dead 2 on PC? Why is Grand Theft Auto 5 on PC so late?
10 years ago.
Grand Theft Auto 2 was
3.
Like
no, I'm talking about 3 or 4 was 10 years ago.
But they also brought like that new updates to like the PS4 version. They didn't bring that to PC right away. Like they've always kind of lagged on PC. And then also when it comes to Red Dead was supposed to
Can they?
suffer because
They'll
brought
be
this forward
fine, but
PC.
can they afford to delay PC a year again? I know they'll be fine.
afford
be
financially,
fine.
afford the bad the
Oh,
reaction.
well, the financially they can. Like we already know that
Yeah,
they can.
financially they don't care.
But the PR and the optics again. Like this has to be day and date console and PC, right? Like it has.
I would hope so, unless they already announced that and we just missed it. But if you're telling me, Dave, a company can't be too hubris and that can't lead to their downfall, like if any company is going to have that ego, it's going to be Rockstar. But I would imagine they have to do day and date for all platforms, excluding the Switch 2. They're going to have to tell people what the online situation is going to be. But honestly, if they do like 6 months later, here's the online, like they did with Grand Theft Auto 5 originally, where the online was I think 30 days after launch. They could do that, and then that can buy them time to be like, hey, make sure you transition your character, make sure you change your shark dollars into whatever the fuck else currency we're gonna have. They have plenty of time to get that stuff in order.
Yeah,
and also I think
the rumors are suggesting early 2026 for PC. Like holiday 2025 for console, early 2026 for PC.
Which honestly, if that becomes the thing, I feel like some PC players will still be like, you know what, fuck it, beta test for us.
Yeah, but they won't double dip though.
They won't double dip, but they'll be there day one no matter what.
But they would double dip if Rockstar comes out and talks about transition of accounts and players. Like we're like, oh, you can take your console player and put them on PC. Oh, cool, I'll play the game for 4 months on. I'll
spend the $70 to play it for 4 months and then jump to PC.
Yeah.
That definitely would work for them. Which I wouldn't be surprised if they do PC after the fact. They are relying on people double dipping. You're gonna get people that can't wait to play it on their platform of choice, and they will double dip for whatever reason, because people are fucking weak when it comes to their favorite things. So either way, they're going to make a shit ton of money, and it seems like Nintendo, if this is true, like the plans for the Switch 2, Nintendo is kind of banking on like Grand Theft Auto coming out this year, and has a plan on how to take advantage of that without having the game on their platform, which is like the most Nintendo brilliant kind of strategy of like, how can we take advantage of this game that's not going to be at our platform? And it's like, oh shit, yeah, just launch everything there and then tell third parties, here's a platform that you can stay away from.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto. And also families, that don't want their kids playing Grand Theft Auto will probably be like, fuck it, let's buy him a Switch 2, and
that can at least delay the conversation. Mom, GTA comes out. Be quiet, we just bought you a Switch.
Yeah, there's a new Mario game, and it's like, okay, like that could work for some people until it comes out on PC, and then they're just playing it wherever they want.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have for news this week. I'm excited for the Switch 2 stuff next week, even though if it's all Nintendo first party stuff, I don't really care about first party Nintendo stuff too much. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. All right, playing and watching. So Ansel and I have still continuing to play through Split Fiction. Sounds like talking to Michael a little bit before the show that we might be about halfway-ish through. We are doing some of the side quests. Some of those are really hard. Like you come up to these like bubbles that you interact with, and they're like little, I don't even know what you want to call. I would say that they're typically like 10 or 15 minute things, but they end up being 35, 45 minute things.
They get easier. So there's definitely a difference between it. So like when you're doing the stuff that's the sci-fi stuff, it tends to be a little bit harder than when you're doing the fantasy stuff. The fantasy stuff, because it's whimsical, is a little bit easier.
Yeah, so the fantasy side missions come out of the sci-fi main missions, and the fantasy main missions produce the sci-fi side missions. The sci-fi side missions are hard as shit.
So they can be a little difficult, especially that game show one we were talking about. That one sucked. But yeah, no, there's a little bit of difference. I actually kind of like the fantasy stuff a little bit more, even though it's a little bit slowed down and not as action heavy.
Brief, super basic spoilers. Like some of the shape shifting stuff has been kind of fun. Like I'm not gonna I'm just kind of thoroughly impressed with the unique creativities for each. Nothing feels repetitive.
No, no, not too much. You do see like them kind of cutting corners here and there for like what the game's doing for a split screen game in terms of
Yeah.
like some of the backgrounds can be a little bland and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Which it is not a problem, but it is interesting. That's just how my brain works. So I'm just like, oh,
Yeah. But I think they've done
this
it.
does look beautiful, but it's
Yeah.
generic enough that
Yeah.
it's not taxing on the system.
And I think that they've done a phenomenal job of building on what you learn as you progress through. Because like I've been talking to Angela, like, okay, you've been jumping like this all game. Like keep, jump, jump, dash, jump, jump, dash. Like.
Yeah. Like you learn new mechanics each world you go to, but you can still rely on the stuff you learned before, even if it's a completely different environment. But yeah, no, there's a lot of creative stuff. A lot of the fantasy stuff is pretty out there and cool. I'm hoping the sci-fi stuff changes up a little bit. Like I'm like 3/4 the way through, and I feel like it hasn't changed up too much. The aesthetics have been pretty
Okay.
similar.
Yeah.
As opposed to the fantasy stuff, there's just kind of way more going on there. I still think the main story is still poorly written, but like those individual characters with their dialogue is fantastic.
Mhm.
So I'm willing to continue the story for those characters, not necessarily the overarching story, but the overarching story just kind of reminds me of just like kid movies from back in the day where it's like it doesn't really matter what the situation is, they just want you to be in the situation. So yeah, Split Fiction,
Mhm.
it's pretty good. So far my game of the year, even though it's not many games came out this year that I was interested in, but I wasn't expecting to be that into this because I wasn't a fan of the previous games.
Yeah, I wonder if it's. I don't know. I haven't really asked Angela if it's intriguing her enough to attempt to go back to It Takes Two. So we'll have to see because we started with that and then I think we got distracted or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, that's pretty much been it. I haven't really. We've been watching some of our just main stuff right now. I have been enjoying. I mean, like at least when I'm home, I've been enjoying over last weekend, like the March Madness, the basketball tournaments. Like, there's not a lot of big upsets right now, so like it's pretty bland. But just this is like really the only time I can watch college basketball, because of so much with the transfer portal and players leaving and transferring schools, and like there's not really anybody that stays there very long. So like these brief little intermits, and it helps that local teams are doing well as well as teams like where like my daughter's fiance goes to school, like they're doing well. We're planning on going down to Kentucky this weekend to see Parker, my grandson. So I don't know in terms of like if I'll take anything down with me or not for that. I don't know if we're playing it this weekend or not. But I believe so. My daughter and her fiance, my daughter's fiance, he is very into. I don't even know what to call. He's very into big games, like board games, like he loves board games,
yeah.
and he also loves like the.
I'm so sorry.
He's fine. The big scale games. So I came home and there was this gigantic Tetris box in my kitchen. The tilting Tetris. Have you seen this, Michael?
Yeah.
That thing is $100.
Yeah, board games are expensive.
No, but this is like this is like Tetris pieces that are bigger than my shoulders.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're playing that this weekend. So, but it's something for her wedding. Like I think they're gonna have some of these games at the wedding. Like they've done like huge Jenga blocks. Like he has this gigantic Jenga block set. Like these are like Jenga blocks as big as my arm. So you're kind of like playing stuff like that. And so I just was like, what on earth is that? And she's like, oh, it was da 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 da. And I'm like, I knew. So I don't know. I didn't realize how big it really was. It looks interesting to play. I've seen like TikToks or reels on it. It looks interesting to play, but I was just kind of fascinated by like the cost of some of that stuff. But I guess there's magnets in it and the tilting mechanisms. Like it's not hopefully it's not poor quality. So,
you'll find out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of just been the most part for me with a little bit of basketball, some stuff with my mom, and getting ready to take another 5-hour trip down to Kentucky.
Yeah, for me, it's just been Split Fiction, not as much as I want. I'm about 3/4 of the way through based on some of the stuff that I looked up. Continuing with Marvel Rivals, just still doing quick play, not doing any comp really. I might do some comp after this, depending on if my energy's good. And then I realize I don't have any of the platinums for the Spyro Reignited trilogy, so going through that with Sarah, I'm actually Sarah's got those games down to muscle memory because that was like her favorite franchise going up. So I've just been like handing her the controller and being like, let's see what your muscle memory can do. And like, it's just kind of fascinating to see like someone play a game that they had down to a science as a kid, and that those memories are still in there somewhere and like never left. So I'm just kind of watching her basically get a platinum for me, which is kind of nice. But it's weird. So I don't know if it's like this for other games, but on the PS5 Spyro Reignited Trilogy, if you look up the trophies on your system, it's broken because it's 3 games. So it's under one, it's like Spyro, you click the icon and then it gives you 3 sets of trophies that you can earn a platinum for. And anytime I click that icon, it only shows me the 3rd game. So then I have to like go to my profile, click into the specific game I'm looking for a couple times, and then I can see my trophies, but I can't look at my trophies from the game, if that makes sense. It's the PS5 just can't manage that for whatever reason. So I was having some problems where I was unlocking trophies, but I couldn't look up what trophies I unlocked because when I load that list, it was broken. So I would just have to wait for my profile to sync and then check the trophies on my phone. So it's just a weird thing I noticed. And I looked on Reddit. It seems like a lot of people are having issues with games that have multiple games in them. And that apparently the PS5 system just struggles to show you those trophies. So that's a little annoying thing. Basically just having to look at my phone to be like, okay, what trophies do we need next, sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, it's just been those 3 games. There's still a bunch of games that I'm trying to pick up through. Like I told you, I think last week, I'm just going to start going through my back catalog by shortest games and just kind of working my way up. So I'm going to be playing a lot of bad games because I have a lot of weird PS3 games that are just bad. I'm going to play Sega's Iron Man game from 2006 or 2008.
I still think I know you don't enjoy doing that, but this would be something I think would be entertaining for you to put on our Twitch channel or something. So.
Maybe. Like I'm gonna play Bionic Commando. Like you remember the third person
even if you
shooter?
don't live stream, maybe if you just capture it and put it up like level by level and splice it.
Maybe, yeah. I gotta work on my graphics card. I haven't set that up on the new setup in the basement. And I wish I can stream some of that stuff. Maybe I'll be able to just stream from the console when I get to PS4 stuff. My PS3 stuff is kind of a pain.
Yeah, I mean, does it have PS3 has an HDMI cable, right?
It does, but I got to do it's a HDCP, so I have to put it through a splitter first, and then a splitter to the capture card. It's a lot more wires than I want to mess with, and I still have like the HD60, so like the one that only does like 720p, because that was the last time I streamed.
Back in the day.
You know what? It was just so much easier to hit the stream button on the PS4 and the Xbox.
It's still on the PS5. It's on the Xbox Series.
Yeah, so like trying to hook up a capture card, I'm just like, why am I doing this?
Says the guy that has the ability entirely in front of me currently right now to stream, and I don't do it either. So
exactly, yeah. And I'm on a PC from 2018. It's got a 1060 graphics card, Dave.
I don't even know what mine is anymore.
I don't know. I think you had like a 20 something.
GeoForce RTX or something.
Yeah, but yeah, I need to get a whole new thing, but we'll get there eventually, Dave. Maybe I'll get back into that. My TV's all the way over there. My PC's over here. I got to get a 100-foot HDMI cable. Or I don't know. Just making excuses now. I do have a 100-foot HDMI cable. Thinking about it, I bought it for reasons, but I can't remember why. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, Dave.
All right, so we're going to skip questions, partially because we didn't ask for them, and also we didn't get them sent, so please consider sending them, #AskDigitalDays. You can post them on Twitter. You can post them in the Discord. I'm sure we might have some, let's get some Switch 2 questions going, or if after you see the announcement, let's get some of those questions going on Tuesday or Wednesday so that we can see them on Wednesday evening when we record. So please consider sending those. And so next week will be probably in like an entire Nintendo podcast, if I have to guess, to Michael's point.
Yes.
News will be very light. On the heels of it being the day before April Fool's Day, or I'm sorry, the day after April Fool's Day is the Switch release. So if I thought anybody was going to try to get something out before the Switch release, they won't because it's April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot going on with that. But other than that, like I said, everything else is linked in the show notes, digitaldaysgaming.com. or just click on see more on your podcast services, and you'll have links to the Discord, links to the Facebook, all that stuff are in our show notes. And I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. All right.
I did not see that thing about a secret level.
Oh yeah, there's like a laser section that if you're able to get through it, like a video is played from the developer being like, "Hey, if you can prove that you beat this, I'll give you a tour and let you see my next game." So it's a weird thing. I wonder how they're going to verify it.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting trophies to pop when you play Split Fiction?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I've only gotten like 2.
Oh no, yeah, no. A lot of the trophies are like side stuff, like that
Okay.
you got to go out of your way to do, or like Easter eggy stuff. There's not a lot of story ones until you get to like the second half of the game.
Okay.
Like
I
me
know
and
there's
Sarah
one
were
for like
looking at
beating
it.
up a robot or something like that. So
It's stuff like that.
Okay.
It's one of those things where luckily there's a chapter select because I already told Sarah like once we beat the game we're just gonna go and get the missing trophies that we need.
yeah, I think once Ansel and I beat the game, I think I'll switch characters and then Owen and I will play the game.
Yeah. He'd probably do pretty well.
Better than her. All right. So those of you that are watching the stream live, thank you so much for hanging out, asking some questions, and all that fun stuff. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you all later.